If someone showed you this image for the first time, would you be able to explain its meaning or the message it conveys? Could you describe the symbolism in the objects, the people, and their actions? Would you be able to connect it to a major historical event? Now imagine you are a middle or high school student today, someone who may know very little about past events and might not yet understand concepts like irony, metaphor, or stereotypes. In this video, I will review the steps of the ORQ strategy for analyzing historical political cartoons, an important higher-order thinking skill that helps students think critically about primary sources. The ORQ strategy is a tool that helps students develop the skills needed to analyze and understand political cartoons in a simple and concise manner. Not only can it be an effective tool for individual student work, but it can also be used for collaborative group work with diverse group learners. By the end of this lesson, learners should be able to apply the ORQ strategy independently without the assistance of a teacher. In order to understand the ORQ, let us look at what a political cartoon is. A political cartoon uses irony, exaggeration, and symbolism to comment on a political or social issue, person, or event. It simplifies complex topics into a clear visual message designed to provoke thought, express an opinion, or encourage discussion or action. Political cartoons have been used throughout history, and when we take the time to analyze them, they reveal valuable insights about the political climate and public attitudes towards events of the time period in which they were created. The ORQ strategy is an effective approach for analyzing political cartoons, which students in grades 6 through 12 often encounter in their history classes while studying different historical eras. For example, in the state of Texas, the U.S. History TEAC standards require students to analyze primary sources such as political cartoons to acquire information to answer historical questions. Research also supports the effectiveness of the ORQ strategy. One of the most significant benefits of using visuals, such as political cartoons in the classroom, is their positive impact on memory retention. Studies show that people remember visual content up to 65% better than text alone. This concept, known as dual coding theory and proposed by Alan Pavio, explains that when information is presented both visually and verbally, learning and memory are strengthened. Additionally, visual aids, like political cartoons, can make complex social and political concepts more accessible and meaningful, especially for visual learners. The ORQ strategy is an acronym for 3 steps: observe, reflect, and question. Each step is intentionally broad, giving learners the freedom to interpret what they see without feeling limited or constrained. Let's take a look at the first step. In the first step, the learner identifies and describes people, objects, text, and actions in the cartoon. They look for anything unusual or exaggerated, as these elements may represent larger concepts, such as an elephant or donkey symbolizing a political party. The learner also examines the image for symbolism, exaggeration, analogy, or irony that can be inferred from what they see. The second step is reflect. Here, the learner summarizes the action and explains what is happening in the cartoon. They consider the historical context and events or issues taking place during that time. Learners think about what issue the cartoon might be addressing and what can be revealed about the cartoonist's message and their opinion or point of view. They can also identify any techniques the cartoonist uses to persuade or influence the viewer. The third step is question. In this step, the learner asks thoughtful questions about the political cartoon, using who, what, when, where, why, and how. Helps uncover additional details. Consider who the intended audience was and how they might have reacted. Think about how an opponent might have interpreted the cartoon differently, or how they might have altered its symbolism. Finally, identify what information is still unknown and determine how to find those answers. For the following example, we will analyze a political cartoon from the Cold War era using the ORQ strategy. Since this is a training video, I will provide one or two possible student answers for each step, though you can explore it more deeply on your own later. Observe. The image shows a man in striped pants, a log, and a bag marked with money symbol. Reflect. The cartoon is from the Cold War, a time when the U.S. competed with the Soviet Union and tried to stop the spread of communism. Question. Why does the tag say aid to Greece and Turkey? Why is the man blindfolded and using a cane as he crosses a log? These are but a few questions a learner may have as they use the ORQ strategy for this political cartoon. The placement of this strategy can be before a lesson as a hook to pique student interest, during a lesson to offer an alternative visual explanation to a topic, or after a lesson to reinforce and remind students what they have learned. The ORQ strategy can be used individually, but it also works well in group settings where students collaborate and share interpretations. For example, you can place students in small groups and provide two political cartoons with opposing views about the suffrage movement, a social movement for women to gain the right to vote. After analyzing them separately, using the ORQ strategy, groups can come together to share what they observed. Students can be grouped by learning abilities, language proficiency, and in the case of these specific political cartoons, boys and girls to analyze how the opposite gender might have viewed the suffrage movement. Then have students discuss whether conditions for women today are better than they were during the suffrage movement. In this video, we learned that the ORQ strategy is a powerful tool for helping students analyze political cartoons related to a specific historical era. It is simple, concise, and flexible, allowing learners to make meaningful inferences about historical events, people, and issues. The strategies to these steps can be applied individually or in collaborative group settings. Also, this strategy is not limited to political cartoons, but it can be used in any subject where students would be required to analyze images. Teaching students to think critically is just as important today as it was when many of these political cartoons were originally created. In a world filled with misinformation and unverified social media content, critical thinking skills are essential for students to form educated opinions and develop a deeper understanding of the world around them. For this reason, I encourage you to use the ORQ strategy in your classroom and help foster a well-informed, thoughtful, and prepared generation of learners.